You stopped in front of the gate of the house and did not recognize who was arriving. The silhouette was familiar, the steps too, but the details of the face are gone. You squinted, strained your eyes, and nothing. That's when a chill went up my spine. It wasn't the strong sun, it wasn't fatigue, it was something deeper, which had been settling in for years without you realizing it. You've believed all your life that carrots were good for your eyes. And it does. But it's not the carrot that's going to save your eyesight now, after 50. While you were worrying about vitamin A, another silent process was eating away at the most precious part of your eyes, right in the center of your gaze. Every time you blink, millions of cells in your retina are exposed to an invisible attack. It's not age alone that's erasing your vision. It is a mechanism that few doctors explain in the 15-minute consultation. And I'm going to explain now why this has been keeping me up at night for decades. I saw people who did everything right and still lost their sharpness. People who woke up one day with a dark spot right in the middle of their vision and didn't know that it had been under construction for 10, 15 years. Pay attention to this detail. After 50, the central part of your retina, called the macula, begins to accumulate a type of cellular waste that works like rust. And that rust is fueled by things you're probably doing right now, without knowing it. Things that seem harmless, habits that you learned as healthy, and that, in fact, they are hastening the day when you will no longer be able to read the medicine package insert, thread the needle, or see your grandchild's expression when he smiles. The problem is bigger and quieter than it seems because it doesn't hurt. The vision does not disappear all at once. It escapes through the corners. First, you notice that the light from the lamp is no longer able to illuminate the page of the book. Then, you start to need a magnifying glass to read the recipe for the cake you've made your whole life by heart. The letters on the television are blurry, even with the new glasses you changed recently. You increase the degree, you spend money on expensive lenses, but the sharpness doesn't come back. And then you think, it's age, there's no way. And he accepts. Keep the book in the drawer. Stop sewing. Give up driving at night. But it's not the age. Age is a factor, but what's really stealing your vision is something that can be stopped. And I'll prove it to you in the next few minutes. In this video, I will reveal the biggest enemies of his vision after 50, the ones that no one talks about at the health center. I'm going to show you how a simple adjustment to your nightly routine can give your retina a chance to clean itself while you sleep, like a cleaning that only happens in the dark. I'm going to give you the name of a substance that your eyes are begging for and that most people consume the wrong way, nullifying all benefit. And I'm going to expose you to the foods that you believe are healthy, but that are actually sabotaging your vision in silence, every day, with every mouthful. Stay with me until the end, because the most important revelation is saved for last, and if you leave early, you'll continue to make a mistake that accelerates the wear and tear of your eyes every week. Every week without this information is a week of silent damage building up on your retina. Inside your eyes, deep inside, is a tissue paper thin membrane called the retina. It is there that light is transformed into an image. In the center of the retina is the macula, a tiny area, the size of a grain of rice, responsible for everything you see clearly, reading, recognizing faces, threading the needle, seeing if the cake is already golden, noticing the expression of affection on the face of the one you love. The macula is populated by light-sensitive cells, the photoreceptors, which consume an enormous amount of energy. Like an engine that never shuts down, they generate waste. And this waste, if not removed, becomes toxins. The main waste is a substance called lipofuscin, a brownish pigment that accumulates over time, year after year. When lipofuscin deposits underneath the retina, it blocks the arrival of nutrients and oxygen. The cells begin to suffocate slowly. It's as if you had a fine sieve and little by little the holes were clogging. The vision becomes blurry, the straight lines look crooked, and in the center there is a dark stain that does not come out, like a stain that stains your window to the world. This is what large surveys around the world describe as the leading cause of vision loss in people over the age of 50. It's not cataracts, it's not glaucoma, it's this wear and tear of the macula, but the name scares and makes it seem inevitable. But look carefully at what I have discovered over decades in the office. The accumulation of lipofuscin is not a sentence. It is accelerated by factors that are within its control. And the first of these is the light that you receive without protection. The blue light that comes from the sun. from cold lamps, from television, from cell phones. This light has a very intense energy, which penetrates to the retina and hits the macula. There, it reacts with oxygen and forms free radicals, unstable molecules that burn the membranes of visual cells. It's as if you left a hot iron on top of a thin fabric for hours, every day. With each exposure, a small burn. Over time, the fabric falls apart. And what most people don't know is that, during the day, the retina has a natural protection. 2 yellow pigments called lutein and zeaxanthin. They work like an internal sunscreen, absorbing excess blue light before it causes damage. But these pigments are not manufactured by the body. They come from food, and modern food is poor in them. In addition, there is a second, even more insidious enemy: sugar and carbohydrates that turn into blood sugar. When you eat bread, rice, pasta, cookies, fruit juice, glucose rises in the blood and binds to proteins, forming advanced glycation products. These products harden blood vessels, including the tiny capillaries that nourish the retina. The vessels become rigid, lose the ability to carry oxygen, and the macula begins to starve. At the same time, glycation accelerates the formation of lipofuscin. It's as if the sugar slowly cooks your eye proteins, as if it caramelizes the lens of the eye and the retina. And the third enemy is silent inflammation, which comes from the excess of refined vegetable oils, industrialized oils, chronic stress, and lack of deep sleep. This inflammation activates defense cells that attack the retina itself in a process of friendly fire. The first revelation, the one that changes the way you see your own body, is this: your eyes aren't aging because of age. They are being poisoned by a buildup of cellular junk that is fueled by blue light, sugar, and inflammation. And the good news is that all these processes can be slowed down. The bad news is that most people are using the right tools in the wrong way. And that's what we're going to talk about now, calmly, step by step. Now, I want you to stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Think about the last time you looked at the face of someone you love, and the features were blurry. Think of the feeling of frustration when you have to ask someone to read you a bill, a simple market bill. Remember when you gave up driving at night because the headlights of other cars dazzled you too much, and you felt like you were no longer safe behind the wheel. This is no frills. It is not old age. It's not drama. It's a cry for help that your eyes have been giving for years. I remember a patient, Mrs. Lords, 68 years old, who arrived at the office with her eyes full of tears. She said, "Doctor, I can no longer see my grandson's face when he smiles. I only see a clear figure." She had given up reading, sewing, watching soap operas. I thought it was the end, and it wasn't. There was much that could be done, but no one had explained to her what I'm explaining now. Another patient, Mrs. Noosa, 74 years old, told me that she stopped going to the market because she could no longer differentiate the bills of money. She felt ashamed, embarrassed to ask for help, ashamed to make a mistake. And she was an active woman who raised 5 children alone. These stories are no exception. They are the rule. And that's why I make this video. Because every week without this information is a week of silent damage accumulating on your retina. Don't blame yourself. You did the best you could with what you knew. But now you'll know more. And what comes next are practical, evidence-based tools that can restore the sharpness you thought was gone forever. Not as a miracle, but as a consequence of working for your body, not against it. The first tool is those yellow pigments that I mentioned, lutein and zeaxanthin. They are present in dark green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, arugula, watercress, broccoli, mustard greens, fresh parsley. The egg yolk is also a very rich source, especially if the egg is from free-range chickens, which have fed on pasture and insects. But here's the mistake that nullifies the benefit and that almost everyone makes. Most people overcook these vegetables or eat them without any fat. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble substances. That is, they need fat to be absorbed. If you make a spinach salad without olive oil, or saute kale in water without a drizzle of healthy oil, you're literally letting the protection your eyes need run down the drain. Ideally, saute quickly in extra virgin olive oil, over low heat, just until wilted. Or eat the yolk of the soft egg, where the natural fat helps in absorption. Another very common mistake: lutein supplements that people buy at the pharmacy and take on an empty stomach, with a glass of water. Without fat in the meal, absorption drops drastically and can be almost nil. You spend money, take the capsule religiously, and you don't see results. It's not that the compound doesn't work. It's just that you're not allowing it to enter your body. Large surveys around the world show that people who consume adequate amounts of these pigments have a much lower risk of progression of macula wear. Lutein is deposited precisely in the macula, forming a yellow shield that absorbs blue light and neutralizes free radicals. Think of it like painting a wall with a protective paint that blocks radiation. Without this paint, the wall peels off. With it, the sun hits, but it does not penetrate. And when you ensure correct absorption, the results appear in real life. Glare decreases, sharpness increases, colors return to contrast. Donna Lourdes, after she adjusted the way she ate vegetables and started to include an egg yolk at breakfast with a drizzle of olive oil, in a few weeks reported that she was able to distinguish the letters of the newspaper without the magnifying glass. It wasn't a miracle, it was chemistry. It was giving the body the right brick for the wall that was cracking. And here's a detail that few people know. These pigments are not only in the macula, they also deposit in the lens, the eye's natural lens, helping to protect it against oxidation that leads to cataracts. It's like double insurance. It protects the lens at the front and the retina at the bottom. But for this insurance to work, constancy is essential. It's no use eating cabbage once a week and thinking it's shielded. The replacement needs to be daily because these pigments are being consumed in the battle against blue light all the time. And the body does not manufacture. Every day you lose a little. Every day you need to replace. Most people over 50 years old have a very low stock, almost zero, without knowing it. It's like driving a car without oil. The engine seizes up until it breaks. And what makes me more concerned is that many doctors don't ask about food in the consultation. The 15-minute consultation barely gives time to look into the patient's eye, let alone investigate what he eats for breakfast. But I'm here exactly to fill that gap, to explain what the system has never explained properly. And this is just the first step. Because there is another nutrient that the retina needs in large quantities, and that is absent in the modern diet. And the way most people consume this nutrient is completely wrong, to the point of turning a sunscreen into an aggressor. Pay attention to what I'm going to say now, because it changes everything. The human retina has the highest concentration of a special type of fat called DHA, which is a long-chain omega-3 found primarily in cold water fish such as sardines, salmon, tuna, anchovies, and herring. DHA is a structural component of photoreceptor membranes. Without DHA, the cells of the macula lose their flexibility and ability to regenerate. It's as if you lack the right brick to fix the wall, and you keep trying to patch it with clay. Serious studies indicate that people with higher levels of DHA in their blood are less likely to develop the advanced form of macula wear and tear. But the common mistake is in the source and in the preparation. Most buy farmed salmon, which has less DHA and may contain antibiotic residues and dyes. Or he fries the fish in vegetable oil, destroying heat-sensitive fats. DHA oxidizes easily at high temperatures. If you fry a fresh sardine in soybean oil, you're turning a protective food into an inflammatory bomb. The correct thing is to bake, steam, or grill quickly, and use extra virgin olive oil to finish the finished dish. Another critical issue. Many people take omega-3 capsules that sit on the bathroom shelf, in the kitchen near the stove, or exposed to light. Omega-3s are very sensitive to oxidation. If stored in a warm place, or if it is of poor quality, you may be ingesting rancid oil that, instead of protecting, inflames. I had a patient, Mr. Antonio, 72 years old, who had been taking omega-3 for years, and his vision kept getting worse. He was frustrated, thinking that nothing worked for him. When we investigated deeply, I discovered that he kept the capsule jar on top of the refrigerator, where the heat of the engine oxidized the oil day after day. By switching to a brand of good origin stored inside the refrigerator and adjusting his diet with fresh fish roasted twice a week, in 3 months, his visual acuity stabilized. He returned to driving during the day and regained the confidence to go to the market alone. But here's how interesting. DHA doesn't act alone. It works in partnership with another essential nutrient, vitamin E, which acts as a bodyguard, protecting DHA from oxidation within the body. Vitamin E is present in almonds, sunflower seeds, olive oil, avocado. If you take omega-3s but are deficient in vitamin E, DHA can oxidize before it even reaches the retina. It's like sending a shipment of fresh fish without ice. It arrives spoiled. Nature is wise. DHA-rich foods like sardines are naturally accompanied by selenium and vitamin E, but industrial processing often removes these protectants. That is why the whole food is always superior to the isolated capsule. Another detail that no one tells: DHA competes with omega-6 fats for entry into cells. If your diet is high in soybean oil and low in omega-3s, the membranes of the retina become filled with inflammatory fats, become rigid, brittle, and visual function plummets. It's like swapping out the upholstery of a sofa for straw. Instead of being soft and flexible, it becomes rough and uncomfortable. Now, let's take it a step further. Retinal protection does not only happen during the day with light. There is a nighttime process while you sleep that is critical to cleaning up toxic waste. And what you do before bed is nullifying that process. You know that look at your cell phone in the dark? The television on until late? The strong white light in the bathroom? They are sabotaging the deep cleansing of your macula. I'll explain exactly how and what to do to reverse this later today. Inside the eyes, the retina has its own biological clock. At night, when darkness comes, a gland in the brain releases melatonin, the sleep hormone. But the retina also produces melatonin locally, and this ocular melatonin is a powerful antioxidant. It acts as a night cleaner, sweeping up free radicals accumulated during the day and helping to degrade lipofuscin, that brownish garbage. Ocular melatonin reaches its peak production in the early morning, around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, as long as everything is dark. The problem is that any exposure to blue light at night suppresses melatonin production. That quick peek at your phone to check the time, the television on in your bedroom until you fall asleep, the white light in the bathroom when you get up to go to the bathroom, all of this fools the brain and retina, which think it's still daytime. The result is that night cleaning doesn't happen right. Cellular garbage accumulates. And this is a silent tragedy because the accumulation of this dirt is cumulative. To make matters worse, many older people already produce less melatonin naturally, and yet they expose themselves to artificial light at night, a double loss. The common mistake is to think that it is enough to wear those glasses with yellowish lenses that block blue light. They help, yes, but they don't solve it if you keep bright lights in the environment. The ideal is to create a dim light ritual. 2 hours before bedtime, dim the lights in the house, use yellowish and low-power lamps, avoid cell phone, tablet, and computer screens. If it is unavoidable to read something on your cell phone, activate the nightlight filter, the one that turns the screen orange. And most of all, sleep in total darkness. A completely dark room, without those little lights of devices on standby. This simple change can boost natural melatonin production and give your retina a chance to regenerate overnight. Think about the dimension of this. Every night you sleep with the light on or the television on is a night when your retina doesn't get the complete cleaning. Over the years, this represents hundreds of nights of garbage accumulation. It's like never cleaning the house, just sweeping the dirt under the rug. At some point, the carpet can no longer hide. One patient, Mrs. Cleed, 65 years old, had the habit of watching soap operas until late on the tablet, with the brightness at maximum, very close to her face. She complained that she woke up with blurrier vision, a fog that took a long time to pass. When he adjusted the night lighting, started sleeping without any light, and exchanged the tablet for a book with an indirect yellow lamp, he noticed that the morning fog decreased significantly in a few weeks. In addition, the quality of deep sleep improved, and with it, the mood when waking up. Sleep is not just rest. It is the moment when the eye repairs itself. It is as if, during the day, the eye is in a battle against light, against free radicals, against pollution. And at night the army of reparation comes. If you don't let this army act, the damage piles up. There is also a curious phenomenon. Melatonin does not only act as a cleaner. It also helps regulate pressure inside the eye. People who sleep poorly have intraocular pressure peaks during the night, which impairs circulation in the capillaries of the retina. Over time, this compromises the nutrition of the macula. So, sleeping well and in the dark is a triple remedy. It reduces pressure, sweeps away waste, and even nourishes cells. All this without spending a penny. But as I said, most people don't get that guidance. They leave the office with the prescription for eye drops and the generic guidance to avoid the sun, but the hole is much lower, And that brings us to the next treacherous enemy, the oils you use in the kitchen. What you consider healthy because television said it's light and good for your heart may be oxidizing your eye cells with every mouthful. That's what we're going to unravel now. When I talk about silent inflammation, the main source in the modern diet is refined vegetable oils: soybean, corn, sunflower, canola oil. These oils are rich in a type of fat that, in excess, promotes inflammation, omega-6 fats. They are in everything: in snacks, margarines, ready-to-eat sauces, industrialized foods, cookies, loaf breads, and seasonings in tablets. What few people know is that these fats are incorporated into the membranes of retinal cells. When blue light hits these membranes rich in oxidized omega-6, oxidation is much more intense. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Free radicals multiply and damage photoreceptors at a frightening rate. The common mistake is to believe that margarine is healthier than butter, or that sunflower oil is light and good for the heart. To the eyes, they are a slow poison. Evidence shows that populations that consume more extra virgin olive oil, rich in antioxidant polyphenols, have a lower incidence of eye diseases. Extra virgin olive oil contains a substance called oleocanthal, which has a natural anti-inflammatory effect, something that resembles the action of certain medications, only coming from nature. But olive oil also needs to be used correctly. It cannot be heated to high temperatures, as it loses its properties and can form toxic compounds. Use olive oil to finish dishes, in salads, or in quick stir-fries over low heat. To cook at higher heat, prefer coconut oil, lard of good origin, or clarified butter, which are stable fats and do not oxidize easily. One thing I've learned in decades of practice is that the body speaks, but we need to learn to listen. When a person has very dry skin, brittle hair, weak nails, often the problem is not only lack of external hydration, it is a deficiency of good fats, those that make up the membranes of all cells, including those of the retina. I had a patient, Mr. Raimundo, 78 years old, a widower, who cooked for himself. He used soybean oil because it was the cheapest and yielded the most. He fried eggs, fried steaks, fried bananas, all in the same oil, reusing it several times. His vision faded. He thought it was a cataract. But his cataract was small. It didn't explain the loss of sharpness. When we investigated deeply, I realized that his retina was inflamed and food was the main suspect. He swapped soybean oil for lard for quick frying and switched to using olive oil for seasoning. Within a few months, the progression of the disease stalled, and he reported that the colors became more vivid again. This is not an anecdote. It is physiology at work. When you reduce inflammation, you preserve the cells that are still alive and give them a chance to function better. Another protective fat is avocado, rich in lutein and good fats. Dona Lourdes started to use olive oil daily at all meals and included half an avocado in the afternoon snack. The improvement in vision was accompanied by an improvement in skin and general mood. But what many people don't know is that avocados also contain glutathione, one of the most powerful antioxidants that the body produces, but which we can also get from food. Glutathione helps recycle other antioxidants, such as vitamin C and vitamin E, keeping the defense system running in a cycle. It's like a team leader who coordinates the cleaners. Without it, cleaning is disorganized and less efficient. And avocado is one of the best sources to help the body keep glutathione levels high. Now, pay attention to this detail. What I'm going to reveal next is the most surprising mechanism of all, something that directly connects your gut with the health of your eyes. If you have digestive problems, constipation, gas, heartburn, that feeling of bloating after meals, know that this is affecting your vision in a way that no one explains at the health center. Your gut may be sabotaging your eyes. I'll show you how this happens and what to do to reverse this hidden link. There is a direct communication between the intestine and the retina, called the gut-retina axis. What happens down there reverberates up here, inside your eyes. Inside our gut live trillions of bacteria that form the microbiota. When this microbiota is healthy, with good bacteria predominating, it produces anti-inflammatory substances, B vitamins, vitamin K, and keeps the intestinal barrier intact, preventing toxins and poorly digested pieces of food from falling into the bloodstream. If the intestine is unbalanced with too many bad bacteria, the barrier becomes permeable, something we can call a leaky intestine. Bacterial toxins, called lipopolysaccharides, enter the circulation and cause widespread inflammation. This inflammation travels through the blood and reaches the retina, activating defense cells that attack the macula, as if it were an army mistaking its own territory for an invader. In addition, the healthy microbiota helps metabolize protective pigments and absorb good fats. An inflamed intestine does not absorb lutein, zeaxanthin, DHA, vitamins well. You can eat the right foods, but if your gut isn't working, they don't make it to your eyes. The common mistake is to treat the eyes in isolation with eye drops, vitamins, and new glasses without ever looking at the state of the intestine. I got tired of seeing patients who took very expensive supplements for their vision and kept getting worse because their intestines didn't absorb anything. It was like watering a plant with a leaky watering can. The water does not reach the root. The practical tip: include prebiotic fibers such as raw garlic, red onion, cooked green bananas, oatmeal, asparagus, which feed the good bacteria. Consume natural probiotics such as unsweetened natural yogurt, kefir, artisanal sauerkraut. Avoid excess antibiotics without real need. And above all, reduce ultra-processed foods that inflame the intestine, such as sausages, soft drinks, artificial sweeteners, white flour. Sue Antonio, the one who oxidized omega-3, also suffered from chronic constipation. He took laxatives every week. When he improved his gut flora with fiber, reduced sugar, and started consuming plain yogurt every day, his vision took a leap in quality. He reported that the colors came back to life, something he didn't even realize he had lost. There is one more crucial detail in this gut-retinal axis. The good bacteria produce substances called short-chain fatty acids, which are like fuel for the cells of the intestine and also have a systemic anti-inflammatory effect. When you consume fiber, bacteria ferment those fibers and produce those acids. They enter the bloodstream and will calm inflammation throughout the body, including in the retina. If you don't eat fiber, this mechanism shuts down. It's like having a natural remedy factory inside you and not providing the raw material. The factory closes, and the retina is unprotected against chronic inflammation. Therefore, chronic constipation is not just a discomfort. It's a sign that the production of these protective substances is low and your eyes are feeling the impact. My friends, I need to pause here for a heartfelt request. If this content is making sense to you, if you are realizing that there are paths that have never been explained, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and comment with your city or your country. I read every comment and want to know where you're from, because this community of people who value their health deserves to grow. And tell me, which of these enemies of vision did you think was innocent until now? The light of the cell phone, the cooking oil, the natural juice? Comment there that I want to understand your reality. Now we come to the most critical point of this video. The mechanism that most accelerates the accumulation of lipofuscin and the death of macula cells is glycation, that caramelization of proteins that I mentioned. But now I'm going to show you exactly which foods, considered healthy, are sabotaging your vision in silence, because the industry has painted them as good. The first big traitor is natural fruit juice. Yes, that orange juice you drink for breakfast thinking it's full of vitamin C and that it's the healthiest thing in the world. The whole fruit has fiber that reduces the speed of sugar absorption. When you squeeze it, you lose the fiber and you get a fructose-rich liquid, which goes straight into your blood, raises glucose quickly, and triggers the glycation process. Fructose is even more reactive than glucose in the formation of advanced glycation products. Think about the dimension of this. You eat 3 oranges for breakfast. You think you did something good, but you actually gave your eyes a sugar bath. The second traitor is wholemeal bread. Modern wheat, even in the whole wheat version, has a high glycemic index and contains gluten, which can inflame the intestines in sensitive people. Wholemeal flour turns into blood sugar almost as quickly as white flour. The third is tapioca, the darling of gluten-free snacks. Tapioca is pure starch, very high glycemic index, 0 fiber, 0 protein. It causes insulin peaks that accelerate glycation brutally. The fourth traitor is cereal bars, often sold as healthy but full of hidden sugar, corn syrup, vegetable oils, and preservatives. And the fifth, the cooking oils that I have already talked about, which are used in everything that is industrialized. But what's most shocking is what happens inside the eye when you consume these foods regularly, day after day, year after year. Imagine the lens of the eye, the crystalline lens, which needs to be transparent like clean window glass. The proteins in the lens undergo glycation and become opaque, yellowish, forming cataracts. It's as if you slowly cook the white of an egg until it turns white and hard. At the same time, in the retina, advanced glycation products bind to specific receptors, activating inflammation and producing more free radicals. It's a vicious cycle. The more sugar, the more glycation. The more glycation, the more inflammation. More inflammation, more damage to the macula. Large studies that followed thousands of people over many years showed that those who kept their glucose levels stable and avoided insulin spikes had a drastically lower risk of progression of macula wear. You don't have to cut all carbohydrates, but choose low glycemic index sources such as sweet potatoes, real brown rice, beans, lentils, and always combine them with fiber, protein, and good fats to flatten the glucose curve. What you eat for breakfast defines the level of inflammation your eyes will face all day. Swapping juice and bread for eggs, avocado, and a whole fruit with skin, such as an apple or a pear, can be the turning point your vision needs. I remember Mr. Benedito, an 80-year-old man, diabetic for decades, who came to the office with his vision already very compromised. He took all his medicines properly, but his diet was a disaster. Crackers for breakfast, orange juice, white rice for lunch and dinner, and in the afternoon he still ate a dulce de leche because he thought it was okay, since it was homemade. When I talked to him about glycation, he was scared. He said that no one had ever explained that sugar cooked the eyes inside. He made the adjustments I suggested. He cut out the juice, reduced the rice, increased the vegetables, started eating whole fruits. His vision did not fully reverse because there was damage already established, but the progression stopped. He regained the ability to read newspaper headlines with a magnifying glass, something he had lost 2 years ago. And, more importantly, he regained hope. This is the heaviest revelation. The number one cause of avoidable blindness after 50 is not age, it's the fork. What you put on your plate every day is deciding whether you will continue to see the details of the world or if it will gradually fade. But there is no reason to despair. It's to empower yourself. Because just as the damage was built in silence, recovery can also be silent, woven night after night, meal after meal. And there is one last secret, something that very few people talk about, and that may be the final piece of this puzzle. The health of your eyes is deeply linked to the health of your liver. The liver is the body's great filter, responsible for processing fats, storing fat-soluble vitamins such as A, E, and lutein, and eliminating toxins. When the liver is overloaded, intoxicated by excess alcohol, medications, sugar, and bad fats, it cannot store and release these nutrients efficiently. The lutein and zeaxanthin you eat, for example, are transported to the eyes by proteins that rely on a healthy liver. A fatty liver, a silent condition that affects a huge portion of the population over 50 years of age, hinders this transport. You may be eating kale and eggs every day, but if your liver is overloaded, these substances are retained. They don't reach the macula in the necessary amount. Think about it. It's like having a postman with a full backpack, but who can't deliver the letters because the distribution center is in chaos. The common mistake is to never investigate liver health when treating vision problems. A valuable tip is to include foods that help the liver: beets, lemons, artichokes, boldo, turmeric, and drastically reduce the consumption of alcohol and processed foods that intoxicate the liver. Su Zhuo, after he started drinking boldo tea twice a week and included grated beets in the salad, felt a general improvement in energy and, according to him, his vision became clearer. Turmeric, in particular, deserves to be highlighted. It contains curcumin, which is a potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. But here's the mistake that nullifies the benefit. Curcumin is very poorly absorbed by the body if it's consumed alone. It needs black pepper and fat to be absorbed. Many people take turmeric capsules or put it in juice without pepper and without fat, and it has no effect. The ideal is to consume turmeric in sautéed with olive oil and a pinch of black pepper. This combination increases the absorption of curcumin by up to 2,000%. Think about waste. You buy the expensive supplement or prepare the tea carefully, and the body just doesn't enjoy it. It's like filling a leaky bucket. Nature offers the tools, but you need to know how to use them, and the liver-vision connection goes further. The liver is also responsible for activating vitamin A that comes from vegetables in the form of beta-carotene. Without a healthy liver, vitamin A does not convert properly, and functional deficiency can exist even with adequate intake. It's what explains why some people eat carrots, pumpkins, papayas, and still have night vision problems. The problem is not in the carrot, it is in the liver that cannot process it. Now I'm speaking directly to you, who are listening to me attentively until this minute. You thought everything was lost. You who have already given up reading the newspaper. You who are afraid of not recognizing your grandchildren in a few years. You who feel a deep sadness when you look in the mirror and notice that your eyes no longer shine like they used to. I want you to understand that the human body has an impressive capacity for regeneration if you give it the right tools and stop pouring gasoline on the fire. You're not an old car that only gets worse with time. You are a living machine which responds to every little change with intelligence. The strategies I've shared here aren't empty promises. They're based on decades of clinical observation and evidence from research centers around the world. Adjust the light in the room at night so that melatonin does the cleaning. Choose the fats of the kitchen wisely, abandoning inflammatory oils and embracing olive oil, avocado, real butter. Prioritize foods that feed the macula, such as green leaves sautéed in olive oil, the yolk of the soft egg, grilled sardines. Respect sacred sleep by creating a ritual of darkness. Take care of the intestine as if it were the garden from which eye health springs. Relieve the liver so that it can take nutrients to the right destination. And above all, nip in the bud the excess sugar and flours that caramelize your eye proteins. These are simple but powerful steps. They are not expensive. They do not require complicated appliances. They only require awareness and a daily commitment to yourself. But I want to make something very clear. This video is educational and complements, never replaces, medical follow-up. Each case has its particularities, and your trusted doctor needs to know the changes you are making. What I brought here is what the 15-minute consultation does not normally achieve, but which can be integrated into your care in a safe and responsible way. And I want to ask you something that goes beyond liking and subscribing. Share this video with someone you love. Send it to your sister, to your husband, to that friend who keeps bumping into the furniture and says it's inattention. Send it to that uncle who no longer wants to drive. Not as an act of marketing, but as an act of deep care. Because information that saves vision cannot stand still. Imagine how many people are right now giving up on things they love, accepting the darkness, simply because no one has explained what I have explained here. Be that person who brings light to the eyes of those who are in the dark. Be the bridge between resignation and hope. Thank you for staying until the end. Your presence here shows that you value your health and your autonomy. It shows that you are one of those who do not give up, who seek to understand, who refuse to be just another number in the statistics. Continue with us on this journey. See you in the next video.